Hi, everybody. This is 1,138 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. And yeah, I'm still wearing the hat. Is the FBI hiding the remains of our son, Richard Halliday? Um, because Nadal Baim, an employee of the FBI, has told us so. He's the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado and the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM. And that's a double wowzer. Um, and he walked into a Dollar General on the 26th of October, 2020, and used his position as an employee of the FBI to order the cashier to take down the flyers of Richard, the missing soldier, the missing whistleblower, the missing student of Park University, the missing U.S. Army Delta Battery 143 soldier that was Distinguished Honor Graduate in Basic Training in AIT, the guidon bearer for his unit, um, aspiring to be a CID agent. Um, Intel has told us that Richard served in as an intern in the CID. That connected everything. That made so much sense to us. And of course, we've been waiting for Thomas Kane, the former. He just retired. They all seem to be just retiring, just getting out of Dodge just in the right time, or I don't know. Um, Maybe they should have stayed, but but the former chief of security of Fort Bliss and the director of emergency services and the professor of Park University. You heard me right. He played all these roles. And also, he had businesses with another professor there at Park University. And so, he taught a class, criminology, and he would know. He would know. He had being the chief of security of Fort Bliss, he would have very close relationship with the CID office, with Special Agent um, Tavita Nusa that was having an affair with Lalani Hart. He would absolutely have a close relationship with Tavita Nusa. And Tavita Nusa lost his badge. He lost his badge, and where is he? He's not in the military. Um, So that is, he would absolutely have close relationship with Marlon Soto, and that's becoming another story. We have filed a complaint, a criminal complaint against Marlon Soto, Special Agent Marlon Soto. Um, wow, I'm looking. I'm looking at the news. Oh my goodness. I was just, okay, let me make sure that I am on Facebook, and then I'll tell you what I just got. Breaking news. Breaking news. It is breaking news. Okay, let me see if I'm on. Okay, there I am. Okay, so what I just received is Fort Cavazos, Fort Hood, which, you know, uh, that's that's where Rob and I were married. That's where Rob and I were married on Fort Hood, Fort Cavazos. Yep, right there in the chapel. That's where we were married. And at that time, they didn't have so many suicided soldiers. No, they didn't have that. Um, I have my own beliefs. Remember, I talked about beliefs yesterday on all of these suicided soldiers. And now it's in the news. It's breaking news that Lieutenant General Bernabe, and we're very close to Bernabe. Okay, so this is Lieutenant General Bernabe. He gets a star for failing to find a missing soldier on Fort Bliss. He got a star for what, covering up? Was he part of that $6 to $8 million? $6 to $8 million of funding to cover up the code red on Richard. That's what I believe. I believe that was his duty when he got there, was to lockstep everybody to the COVID mandates and to cover up the premeditated code red murder of Richard, the whistleblower, the Park University student, the distinguished honor graduate, the saint, that stood for the children. Stood for the children by putting in CPS complaints. And I know if you're just now listening, if you're just now coming on, you'll probably think, oh my gosh, that mother. But no, we are at 1,138 days. I am surrounded in a room of piles of evidence that has exposed a very diabolical, cruel, systematic business plan. You know, it's all for money. It's all controlling for, it's really, it's so embarrassing for our country to go through the evidence that we have. It's really embarrassing. Where has our moral character gone? That we would think it is okay. Is Richard's life more valuable than mine, says First Sergeant J. Paulin? Meaning no. That's what he meant. No. Because that's exactly what was going on, is preserving their lifestyles. And if that meant, and this is my opinion from piles and piles and piles of evidence, some of it hard facts, some of it circumstantial. Do we have a body? No, we do not have a body. They didn't want another Guillen situation, quote unquote. They didn't want another Guillen situation. No, we have a letter from Thomas Kane. We have Nadal Baim. We have Anthony Swafford. We have what's going on at the VA. We have what's going on at Park University. We have what's going on in the CID. And let's get back to Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, who we had meetings with and who wanted to come here to our home and tell us that our son suicided. He did. He wanted to come and tell us that our son suicided. And we told him, stay there at Fort Bliss. Stay there. Go hide. In your shame. In your shame. I don't know if he did that. We didn't tell him, oh, go hide in your shame. In my mind, I did. In my mind. And I'm telling him now, go hide in your shame. Because we were there at those meetings. We saw what he did. We saw the pretending, the pretense, the pretense of all what a general should be, and he had none of it. Okay? He had none of it. I remember that SJA just desperately trying to convince us that the Army took underage drinking seriously, especially if it's a 0.04 BAC, right? Um, with a setup job of arresting Richard in a parking lot, um, which was a retaliation. That's when a retaliation started for his CID and CPS complaints. Now that's my opinion after looking at piles and piles of information, including the police record, which Richard never pleaded guilty for and was dismissed. Yet Lieutenant General Bernabe thought it was so important. I'm getting a little bit, I need to calm down because I just remember them at that 15 plus agency meeting wasting so much taxpayers' money. Y'all, they were allocated from our intel, and we're waiting for confirmation. They were allocated $6 to $8 million. That was from the governor's office alone of taxpayers' money to cover up crime, to cover up the criminal syndicate. How disgusting is that? And from the Army, we're getting that they were at $1.8 million, and the county of El Paso, 200,000. So you're talking a lot of money. You're talking unbelievable amounts of money. And we saw it. We've experienced it. We know that we've been saying this for a long time, the asymmetric warfare tactics. That was part of the meeting. The military operations. Just remember the canines, the canine debacle. There's so much to this that people would not even believe it. And Lieutenant General Bernabe saw to it, saw to the debacle, saw to the betrayal not only to a soldier that was missing, a young soldier, 21 years old, young soldier, volunteer son of this republic. Never forget that. These are our volunteer sons and daughters of this republic. And he saw to it that this young man, this young soldier that went in so excited to volunteer, went in with all his might to become the Distinguished Honor Graduate of Basic Training in AIT, would be betrayed, would be so much betrayed that for being a whistleblower, for illegal activities that are, I can tell you, it is about narcotics trafficking. It is about weapons and equipment smuggling and even ammunition smuggling. And it is about human trafficking, child trafficking. And I would believe that it is about child pornography because Richard turned in sex tapes. Okay. We have testimony to that. So can you imagine that Lieutenant General Bernabe wants that to continue? He wants that to continue. He doesn't want to stand up for the soldiers that are suffering, that now in 1 month, 4 have died under his command, 3 suicided, and people are sick of it. And that's why the media has to scrutinize what Lieutenant General Bernabe is doing at Fort Hood Cavazos. It's so bad there, they had to change the name. And if I was the Cavazos family, I would say, hell no, you're not using my name. Until, especially if you're putting Bernabe, Sean Bernabe, in charge of Fort Hood, you're not using my name. Because that man has committed crimes. Not only crimes against humanity, which absolutely he did. That's why we have soldiers being suicided. But crimes in the betrayal of one of his soldiers that's under his command, it's his duty to look after his soldiers. He has a duty to do that. And he betrayed that duty. And what did that do? That made Fort Bliss, Fort Hell, Fort Hart. It made it Fort Hart like Lalani Hart and James Hart and Dallas Hart. It made it Fort Hell. And I can testify to that because I was there and I saw them shaking. And anytime you have barracks that are a frat party every day and everybody is just throwing up, not wanting to live there, right? And Asia Graham is a testimony to that. She did not want to live there. They denied her, even though she had been raped. And instead of coming to their senses and separating the barracks, because they're co-ed, instead of separating the men from the women to protect the women, to protect the men, to protect the nation. No, they moved her rapist 2 doors down from her as a retaliation. And the next thing we know, her life is suicided. Now, she wasn't a suicide, but they drive them to such bad ends. And now we have Lieutenant General Bernabe, who they put over an installation like Fort Hood, like Fort Cavazos, right after Vanessa Guillen situation, right? Vanessa Guillen, that was where she was bludgeoned to death in the armory. So bad that they couldn't even use her dental records to identify her. Not only that, that is where she was somehow, some way, put into a Pelican case after she had died. My husband was like, In that Pelican case, she was transported to beside the Leon River, where she was taken out of that Pelican case and continued to be chopped up and burnt, roasted, and then put in a hole so that there would be lime poured over her and cement. And I apologize to anybody that knows Vanessa Guillen. I have to do this because I am saying they put a criminal a criminal who had betrayed all of Fort Bliss, all of El Paso, over the military installation of Vanessa Guillen, the crime against Vanessa Guillen. And it wasn't just a crime. It was a deliberate attempt to hide her murder. When you go to that extent to put lime over her and concrete over her and dirt over her, after putting her in a foxhole, after cutting her up and roasting her, after bludgeoning her, and having the CID not, know what happened in that armory, right? What happened? Oh, and she was a whistleblower. So it's not like, oh, she's under our whistleblowing blower protection. Absolutely, we know what's going on. Absolutely, we have to make arrests. Absolutely, she is not. Absolutely, she is not AWOL. No, that's not their response. Their response was, I guess she's AWOL. Look, when you bludgeon someone to death in an armory, there's plenty of evidence. Okay? Plenty of forensic evidence. Quick arrests. But that's not what happened. The Guillen family had to fight. They had to fight. They had to get the community behind them. They had to get the media behind them. They had to rally and rally and rally and get Texas EquiSearch involved in it. Texas EquiSearch, when they found the Pelican case, the CID stopped the search. They stopped the search. And the military thought it was okay after with Lieutenant General's Bernabe's record to put him over Fort Hood, to put him over a good place, Fort Cavazos. I mean, when are we going to and then we have now 4 suiciders and or 4 deaths, 3 suicided in a month, in 1 month, of our volunteer sons and daughters. And no one should be surprised. They put the worst type of criminal, one that has all the appearance of goodness, but is up to no good at all. But is up to no good at all. That's the breaking news. That if you only knew what we had to go through with that general, that he wanted to suicide my son. On paper. On paper. Let me just come and tell you what the PI, they were all manipulating, tampering. Richard's case started way before he went missing, okay? Let's make that very, very clear. That case started way before with his CPS complaints. That's why they don't want to share it with us. They are absolutely operating outside of the law with us. That's why they don't want to share the CID complaints, why the IG were all over the barracks because of Halliday. and the Park University. I mean, can you imagine? Our son was so desperate for some institution to do the right thing, he went to Park University. That's what our intel's telling us. But see, Anna Whitehead has some explaining to do because it doesn't seem that she reported complaints like she should have. It doesn't seem like it because we're talking 3 years later and our intel is finally uncovering this. Um, she wasn't reporting, and we have information that Leilani Hart made complaints even to about the regional director for Park University that he had to leave. He's down in Naples, Florida now. He was like, I'm out of here because she has some institutional support that will make my life hell. Um, I think she accused him of sexual harassment. Um, she also accused a teacher, and it was they were all false accusations. She was just trying to make people's life chaos. She is just up to no good wherever she goes. And how do we know that? I mean, I think Leilani Hart and Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe are cut out of the same cloth. They want to have all the appearance of goodness, but they are totally up to no good at all. And they bring nothing but disaster. 4 deaths in 1 month. It's making the news, thank God. Thank God it is. And now you know why. Day in and day out, we come on here. We make time every night. Most of the time I'm burning midnight oil to prevent, because maybe, and I don't know if I'm putting a feather in my hat or not. Maybe I am. But if I wasn't calling this out every day with Team Find Richard Halliday, you have to understand this is teamwork. This is so much support. I just cry thinking about it. How much support that we have gotten so that we could do these live streams. And not monetary. Not monetary. Support and just getting life done. Because you have to, people that have been following for a long time know what we've been through, know all the challenges that we have been through, in addition to Richard being missing and forced disappearance and the presumed premeditated, code red murder of our son. So I'm very grateful for that. And so I'll put a feather in Team Find Richard Halliday's hat. Let's do that. And say, I think that if we weren't doing this day in and day out, there would be a lot more suicided soldiers. 4 is way too many. I can't even imagine what it would be like. Because we've been calling out the SOPs that have been totally ignored in the barracks flush with weapons, the frat parties and the marketplace of illegal drugs in the barracks, the botched investigation of our son. I hope we're shaking things up. The breach in security at Fort Bliss and it being systemic. So that means breach security at Fort Covassos. And if Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe is not going to do anything to help the breach security at Fort Bliss, he sure has a bad track record. Bad track record. Don't forget about the 11 soldiers in the field during a field maneuver being poisoned with antifreeze because they were drinking grog out of a sealet. And you don't recover from that kind of injury very easily. I can't even imagine what they're going through. And that is a lack of discipline, a lack of leadership, a lack of honor, a lack of integrity, a lack of duty, a lack of oversight. Absolutely a lack of training. And we give them everything. You have to understand, we give the Army everything. We give these generals everything. Trillions of dollars we have given them. We are in debt. We're suffering in inflation because we have given them everything, because they told us that we were not safe, that we had to go to war to line their pockets. Yeah, they've lied to us. They've deceived us. They've operated under deception. And I can contest to that because of dealing with General McConville, General Garrett, General Mealy, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, Lieutenant General, who's over the IG right now, Donna Martin, who was over the CID during the whole thing. She came and sat in the middle of our meeting out of uniform in civilian clothing with 15 plus agencies. Lots of money spent to get those agencies there. Okay, including the ATF, which is alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives. They just don't show up. Okay, there was a reason why they were there. The military there for Mexico, the Mexican government. Yeah, it was a huge meeting. They put on a dog and pony show at the expense of taxpayers' money and had the general sit in a chair in the middle of the room, Indian style, in civilian clothing without an op-ord. Without an op-ord, which means operational order, which means do-outs, which means tasks. It was a task force without tasks, without an op-ord. And Bernabe was right there, out of uniform, and his SJA out of uniform. No, I think that Bernabe and Leilani Hart, they're cut out of the same cloth. They want all the benefits of our country, of our institutions. They want all the benefits. They even want to fraudulently receive those benefits. I mean, that third star is a total fraud. I want him out of that uniform. Out of that uniform. No stars. 4 deaths in 1 month. What does it take? Crying families. Children without parents. Parents without children. At the beginning of all of this, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, Rob and I were saying, come on, Army, let's work together. Let's work together and make a win-win. We need to make a win-win. A win for the Army, a win for our family, a win for Richard, Let's win. Let's find him. Let's find him. And we want immunity for those involved. We worked tirelessly to get money together to offer a reward. We are offering $150,000 reward for information right now that leads to finding Richard. That's even with knowing, us believing, because of all the evidence that we have, hard evidence and circumstantial, that and we don't need his body, you know that. The precedent is we just need circumstantial evidence that proves that there was a premeditated murder, and we've got it. And it's more. It's more than that. And the Lonnie Hart is a big picture of that. And Sean Bernabe, he covered it up, which implicates him. And he's over there at Cavazos doing damage. Absolutely doing damage. 4 deaths in 1 month. And that's just what we know, because we just heard the end of June, beginning of July on Fort Bliss, a second lieutenant blew his face off and his head off right in front of the battalion building. That wasn't reported in the news. We have to get that through the intel, right? What does that mean? That they're tampering with evidence, that they're obstructing justice, that they are denying due process. They're not getting to the bottom of what's going on. And so because they are not doing their duty, we'll have more. And so Rob and I and Team 5 Richard Halliday, we say enough is enough. Absolutely, there is enough evidence. We have enough evidence to find our son, which goes to my little notes here of what I did want to mention before this breaking news, before, oh, I see Dan. Oh, hi, Dan. Anicia, thank you. Good evening. Jackie, thank you for coming on. Thank you for your prayers. When I saw that breaking news, this government can find every American that participated in January 6th arrest. January 6th, arrest and convict them in a blink of an eye, but they can't piece this together and figure out who brought cocaine into the White House. Not buying what America is being sold. Absolutely. Thank you, Dan, for putting some common sense into this, because that's exactly right. We know because of the white van, the white Pontiac van that its license plate begins with a CH. We know that white Pontiac Montana van 2004 had OnStar GPS data. Okay, we know that is in connection to Richard's case. We know that Shadow Mountain Lake is a place of interest now, because everything's coming out. It's kind of like what I said yesterday. The stars in their course fought against Sisera. The time is going to expose everything. We know that from Nadal Baim, there was a cover-up, and we know that because we are the ones that discovered who Nadal Baim is. And we were told months before that, on October 27th, we gave them the information on October 26th, the day that we received the CCTV footage, the day that we talked to the cashier and recorded her testimony, the day that we went there less than an hour after he had been there. And got everything fresh, even from another coworker, everything. And we gave that right away to the FBI. And by the way, now Jeff Downey is saying goodbye. Why is Jeff Downey saying goodbye now? Because we gave this to the FBI, all this information. And they come back and tell us, oh, he's just some kind of guy watching your Facebook. Oh, he's probably saw a map in the background and that's how he got the information. No. That's not how this went. So, and we've had to be subjected, right? We've had to be subjected. Hold on here. My computer, every time I get on here, gets a little crazy. We've had to be subjected to retaliation. See what I mean? Oh my gosh. I'm not going to mess with it, y'all. That is so weird. Look at that. It's like my computer is being hacked. It's like yesterday too. Every time I come on here, I can't mess with it. Matter of fact, I'm going to unplug this. It seems to be there. Look at that. It's unplugged and it's still, oh my gosh, y'all. Yesterday too. Remember yesterday? It went away. Can you see me? Hi, everybody. I just have to go live this way. Um, I don't know what happened. I don't know if I was hacked. I don't know. And it happened last night too. And so anyway, but I'm going to get on message. Okay. I'm not going to let them distract us from the message. And that message is that we have to support our service members, that we have to be a hedge around them. We have to be a hedge around them. And one of the very important things that we're asking is that the petition that we have for this very brave soldier that has requested a congressional inquiry that includes, the problems at the JAG, that they're not supporting the whistleblowers, that they're not supporting soldiers that have concerns, that they're blocking them, but also Richard's case. Absolutely read it. The concerns for the security on Fort Bliss. We need to support this brave soldier. We do not know. I just want to make sure that everyone understands this. We do not know this soldier. Okay. Um, so we cannot get off message here. We cannot let them distract us. They are going to, they're at war. These people are facing criminal charges. They're facing the loss of their benefits. They're facing um, the scrutiny of the American people. Finally. Finally. And so definitely we need to stay on message because we have suffered retaliation. We have suffered harassment. But, we have the full armor of God on. And we're not going to let them, intimidate us to stop us from finding out what happened to our son. And this is so important to stay the course because all of our soldiers, all of our service members, their lives are at stake because this is a systemic problem. Their lives are at risk. Look what they have done to our beautiful military installations. What they have done to our 44 four-star general. We don't need 44 of them, okay? During World War II, with 10 times the amount of service members, we only had 7. We have 44 now that have betrayed us. So there is a retrenching needed. There's a retrenching needed. If they are going to take millions of dollars to cover up Richard Halliday's case instead of prosecuting the criminal syndicate that was behind the what we believe in Team Find Richard Halliday, the premeditated murder, the code red murder of Richard, to get rid of the whistleblower that was threatening their bottom line, their criminal bottom line. They should have taken that money and they should have retrenched, cleaned out Fort Bliss, because we're talking about not only the command, not only Park University, not only the JAG, not only the CPS, the CYS, the DES, the Chief of Security of Fort Bliss, the military police. The military police, the CID. It's outside Fort Bliss too. And the VA. Let's not forget the VA. The VA where they can really control our veteran community by threatening their benefits. And, that needs to be reviewed too. But the big thing is that Leilani Hart was allowed through her methods to control the CID. She was having an affair with a CID special agent. It's all... It is a systemic problem. And in our son's case, the number one suspect, as far as obstructing justice and denying us due process, tampering with evidence, tampering with witnesses, tampering and retaliating against whistleblowers, um, and more, is Leilani Hart. Okay? She's the number one. Now, I'm not saying doing the bodily harm. I'm saying obstructing justice, denying us due process, getting through. I mean, what does she have over the JAG, right? What does she have over Major General Eisenhower? She's a convicted criminal with a history, a continuous history since the 1990s of harassment and lying all the time and causing trouble, even at every workplace that she's been at. Look, I talked to the notary public. He didn't just tell me, hey, she notarized this document and I witnessed it. There was more to it. And the more to it was she wants the perception of being good and noble and wanting all the benefits. She wants it all, but without the discipline, without the loyalty, without the truth, she's up to no good. And she does it through harassment and intimidation and threats. And how do we know this? Because she is a convicted criminal. She has records, and those records are public, and you can read them. And so that's why I'm saying that she's cut out of the same cloth as Sean Bernabe, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, the commanding general at Fort Cuvazos, who now has 4 dead soldiers. And he lectured me that soldiers were dying. And I'm like, yeah, soldiers die because of leadership that is dishonorable, has no integrity, has no sense, is betraying our soldiers. Yeah, that's why they die. That's why they die. These unjust wars, the bottom line being more important than their oath, their duty. Absolutely. And they get you. You see, they get you. You're desperate. You want to know where your child is. You want to know where your loved one is, right? And you depend on them. You depend on them to help you. And they feed you nonsense and insanity. And you have to hesitate to respond to them because you don't want to burn your bridge because you depend on them to help you. It is the most diabolical, evil situation for any member of a family to be in. And for them to lecture me that they take underage drinking seriously when my son is missing. And I'm like, I don't care. Would you guys stop it and just go find him? You can find the January 6th people, right? You knew exactly where I was because I was at January 6th. You knew exactly what I did. You knew exactly when I got there, when I left, how many prayer candles I handed out. Because Lieutenant General Donna Martin contacted us the day before on January 5th saying, oh, don't go. Stay home. Don't go. What do you mean? 1 million people plus are going to be there. Media's probably going to be there. They weren't. Of course I'm going to go. My son's missing. It's kind of like Katurga. Oh, I don't go on TikTok. Okay. Well, that's probably because you don't have a missing son, right? I mean, these people are the most callous, cold blooded, calculated, and paid to do it. Paid to do it. Can you imagine millions of dollars going to cover this up? Yeah. If you've wondered, where's the DA? Where's Bill Hicks? Who works for Bill Hicks? Who does Bill Hicks work for? Because he wasn't voted in, right? Where's Jaime Esparza? Huh? Where's Jaime Esparza in all of this? The AG. Where is Fort Bliss? Where's Park University in all of this? Where is Thomas Kane? Who, I mean, he's a professor at Park University. He was 15 plus years the chief of security of Fort Bliss, the DES, has a couple businesses. Close contact with the CID. He knows a lot about Richard. Okay, he knows a lot. But he has this very close relationship with Leilani Hart. I thought she was having an affair with Tavita. Oh, whatever. Find my son. Let's expose this systemic problem that is not just, relegated to Fort Bliss. Fort Bliss is not the only base that has this kind of problem. And, really not that they transferred with a star, y'all. That's the waste, the fraud, waste, and abuse. They transferred Sean Bernabe over there to do more damage over on a base that was already hurting, was already suffering, was already their morale. Can you imagine the morale with Gregory Morales, with Vanessa Guillen, and especially closer to Austin Hawke in Georgia? What happened to him? Another whistleblower. Totally butchered in his barracks. So, you had April, May, June, July, right? You have Vanessa Guillen, Gregory Morales being found, Enrique Roman Martinez, his head rolls ashore, his eyeballs gouged out, his hair pulled out. That's all they have of him is his head. And then Austin Hawke butchered in his barracks room. And then Richard just vanishes. This is Fort Bragg. It's called Fort Liberty now. And Georgia. And Fort Bliss, Fort Hood, Fort Cavazos. They have to change the name. Because they want all the perception. They want people to think they're good. They want people to see that, oh, this is really good. But y'all, underneath, it's stinky. It's stinky. It's smelly. It's like they're up to no good. They want the perception so that they can keep on padding their pockets. All the while betraying and suiciding our loved ones, and then covering up using millions of dollars of our money to cover up. It is the biggest con job because you think they're defending our country? The soldiers, the volunteer soldiers that are in there to defend our country will defend our country in or out of uniform because their heart is in the right place. But the leadership, they're up to no good. They're up to no good. And I'm here at, this is not me just gossiping. This is sitting on mounds of witness testimony, our own witness testimony, our own evidence. And I can tell you, in our son's case, the obstruction of justice still has not been lifted that Leilani Hart perpetrated with the help of Miss Kacherga of Bob Moore's El Paso Matters, KTEP. We still are being denied due process to finding our son. And Major General Eisenhower holds the keys. He holds the keys to unlocking that obstacle and letting us have due process, letting us move forward in our case, because we know, and they know that they're going to just throw everything to keep that door shut. And Major General Eisenhower has the keys. And it was Leilani Hart with the jack, with the help of Miss Kacherga, Bob Moore, El Paso Matters, that are supposed to be neutral, right? They're supposed to be neutral because they're tax-free. So it's all, it's all about conning us. And if you're wondering what inflation is, I'm going to tell you what inflation is. It's not that prices go up. It's because our dollar loses value. It's like if you're living on an island where everyone has bananas and you want to sell your banana. You can't sell your banana for much because everybody has bananas. This is what they're doing. They have digitized the monies so much that our digital monies are not worth that much. And that's why we have inflation. That's inflation. It's the result of fraud. It's a secret tax. And once you wrap your head around it, take some time, wrap your head around it. Understand the secret tax of inflation, the devaluation of our currency, the devaluation of our currency because of the mismanagement of those in charge of our money. And they mismanage it because they have so much crime they have to cover up. They have to digitize millions of dollars, put the bill to the taxpayer, and use it to cover up a criminal syndicate here at Fort Bliss. Well, there, I'm in South Carolina, but there at Fort Bliss, and that reaches out to the El Paso community. And I don't think the El Paso community likes it too much. I don't think they like those high taxes too much. I don't think they like the betrayal too much. And so anyway, so I have to come on this live. My computer, it's like it got hacked. It's like it got hacked. And it happened last night too. And so make sure, the VA fraud, the Fort Cavazos breaking news, evidence of inconsistent statements. Oh yeah. So late yesterday, we received some more evidence, and it really was powerful because it goes to our key witness and offers evidence of inconsistency with Leilani's statements. That is very valuable. So, and I don't think that they meant it to be valuable to us, but it's very valuable. And I wanted to mention that. And I also wanted to mention that, and I forgot this, and this is breaking news too. This is breaking news. We have confirmation that agencies are now looking into Leilani Hart, but they want to stay anonymous right now. They want anonymity, right? But they're looking into Leilani Hart. So we do have institutional support right now, which is wow, because I think of this soldier, a very brave soldier that put in the congressional inquiry. I think it started some institutional support for us. And never forget that institutional support plus evidence equals accountability. And so that's what we are absolutely wanting is accountability, because the accountability is going to give us Richard's remains. And at the end of the day, I know that I got a phone call today from someone that's been trying to help find this, and it doesn't seem to understand that we have piles and piles of evidence that points to the code red, points to the premeditated murder of Richard. And, you know, just think about it. They didn't tell us that Richard was in the criminology. And there's all kinds of people's names that we have now, right? That we never had before when Park University came into our scope, when we finally understood their position in our son's case. So we have Park University, and of course Richard's internship with the CID, and we have the monies that are just blow your mind amounts of money to be used to cover this up, which declare that they have something to cover up, right? They have something really serious to cover up. Richard was really exposing something very, very serious. That's what that declares. And yeah, institutional support plus the evidence equals the accountability. I'm just reading here. Yes, Leilani Hart is obstructing. She's the key. And how can she be the key when she's a criminal? Well, she's the obstacle that's obstructing the justice. So we asked for letters for Major General Eisenhower, please, to to just to say, look, the witness was retaliated against as a whistleblower without a packet. That means without an investigation, without a notice, meaning never an opportunity to defend himself, to have a saying himself. No, that's no due process. And how can, when you know that that Leilani Hart is a convicted criminal with a history of harassment, and domestic abuse, domestic disturbances. I listed off the other day all of her case numbers. How can Major General Eisenhower not unlock this or get rid of this retaliation? Right? Why? What's going on? And that's why your support really comes in to play here, because he needs to know that he needs to do the right thing. So write him a letter, and of course, sign the petition to put a hedge around this brave soldier. They need it. Look, 4 dead soldiers at Fort Hood in a month. We really need to put a hedge around our soldiers, around our service members. And then also, so sign that petition. I haven't looked how many we have. The last time I looked, I think it was like 126 signatures. We need far more than that for our soldiers. um, especially someone so brave to become a whistleblower, because whistleblowers are at risk right now. They do not get whistleblowing protection like they should. Whistleblower protection like they should. Um, no, look what happened to Richard. He paid the ultimate price, right? So we do need that, and we need the letters to Representative Escobar, because that's who the congressional hearing request went to, and it was CC'd to um, Senator Cruz. So if you can take some time out and write Senator Cruz, that would be, I mean, huge. People don't understand how huge that is. So thank you so much. I think that's all the news for today. And thank you for putting up with, staying firm with us. Um, and we will, be back tomorrow, God willing. And I'll restart my computer and hope that it wasn't a hack job. Hope that I can broadcast. Because, see, this only broadcasts to Facebook. When I'm on the other platform, it is broadcasting to YouTube and to Twitter, which is X now, and Rumble, and where else? Oh, it's Facebook. Yeah. So I can do multiple platforms at one time to get the word out. And so thank you so much. Also, go on to TikTok. We're doing um, we're moving out on TikTok as far as moving ahead and every day getting more and more attention. So that would be a huge help too. So thank you. Support our soldiers, and let's have this inquiry, this congressional inquiry, to get to the bottom of who perpetrated this against Richard. And thank you so much. God bless you. And I will see you tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.